And today we're going over the Conventional Loan Contingency Exhibit. This exhibit is part of the agreement with an offer date of for the purchase and sale of that certain property known as A. Application. Buyer shall promptly apply for and in good faith seek to obtain the conventional loan or loans described below, such that buyer can fulfill buyer's obligation hereunder prior to the expiration of this conventional loan contingency. Select A or A and B below. Any box not selected shall not be part of this agreement. All loan terms must be filled in. This exhibit is attached to a specific purchase and sale agreement, applies to a specific property, becomes legally part of this agreement. This is not a separate document. It modifies and controls the financing terms of the main contract. Buyer's obligation. Buyer must promptly apply for the loan. Act in good faith, seek to obtain the loan described, do so before the financing contingency expires. Good faith means buyer must genuinely attempt to qualify and cooperate with the lender. Loan description. Buyer must select first mortgage only or first and second mortgage. For each loan, the contract must specify percentage of the sales price, the loan term in years, maximum interest rate or the cap, type of rate, fixed, adjustable, or interest only. This matters because if the buyer is denied financing, denial must match the loan described here. A denial for different loan terms does not qualify. 2. Use of particular lender. Buyer may apply with any Georgia licensed lender. If approved lender are listed, buyer must apply with at least one of them. Buyer does not have to close with them. 3. Length of the financing contingency period. This sets the number of days buyer has to secure financing or terminate. The clock starts from the binding agreement date. If buyer does nothing before this deadline, financing protection expires. 4. Length of time for buyer to request reduction in the purchase price based upon low appraisal. This sets the number of days the buyer has to request a price reduction if appraisal is low. This deadline is separate from the financing contingency. 5. Buyer may apply for different loans. Buyer may apply for other conventional loans, but denial of these other loans cannot be used to terminate. Buyer may not switch to FHA, VA, or USDA financing without amending the contract. Buyer can shop around, but termination must be based on the exact loan described above. 6. Buyer to notify seller of intent to proceed. Buyer must inform seller which lender they are proceeding with, the loan officer's contact information. The purpose of this is transparency and communication. 7. Financing contingency. Buyer is considered approved unless both occur before the deadline. Buyer sends written notice of termination due to denial. Buyer provides a loan denial letter within 7 days of that notice. Loan denial letter requirements must be from a qualified lender, must meet exhibit requirements, may be delivered after financing deadline if within 7-day window. This is very important. If buyer misses deadlines or fails to provide proper denial letter, financing contingency is waived. 8, use of approved lender and loan denial letter. If approved lender is listed, denial must come from them. Denial must state actual underwriting reason. Denial cannot be based solely on buyer lacking cash outside loan amount, buyer failing to sell another property unless contingency exists, buyer failing to provide documents, buyer increasing debt, low appraisal if appraisal contingency exists, incomplete underwriting. Why this is strict. Prevents buyer from sabotaging loan approval to escape the contract. 9, special approval if property is a condominium or subject to a master insurance policy. If property is a condominium or covered by a master insurance, loan must receive project approval. If lender cannot approve project, buyer may terminate. Earnest money is refunded. Buyer must provide lender letter explaining project denial. The deadline, before closing or within 7 days of termination notice. The purpose of this is to protect buyer from non-warrantable conduct. 10, right of seller to request evidence of buyer's ability to close. If financing contingency expires without termination, seller may request written proof buyer can close, acceptable evidence, loan commitment letter showing the type, amount, term, and conditions. Buyer has 5 days to provide evidence. Seller cannot request within 5 days of closing. Important, providing evidence does not guarantee closing. 11, seller's right to terminate. If buyer fails to provide evidence, seller sends notice of default. Buyer has 2 days to cure. If not cured, seller may terminate within 7 days. If seller does not act in time, right to terminate is waived. The purpose of this is to protect the seller from financially unstable buyer. Number 12, authorization of buyer to release information to seller and broker. Buyer authorizes seller and broker to confirm loan status, buyer's financial ability, whether buyer submitted required documents, remaining conditions, or reason for denial. Why this matters? Prevents buyer from hiding financial issues. 13, miscellaneous. Definition of mortgage loan. Mortgage loan is secured by deed to secure debt. First versus second refers to lien priority. 14, appraisal contingency. If appraisal is less than purchase price, buyer must submit amendment to purchase price, which is the F713. Attach appraisal. Do so by deadline in section 4 on page 1. If buyer fails, appraisal contingency is waived. Seller response options within 3 days. Seller may accept reduction, reject reduction, or counter with lesser reduction. Must act no later than 2 days before closing. If no agreement is reached, buyer has 3 additional days, but no later than 1 day before closing to terminate without penalty. If buyer does not terminate, buyer must close at original price. Important clarification, buyer is not required to seek reduction. If buyer does nothing, buyer must close at contract price. Buyer's signature, buyer number 1, buyer number 2, if there's more than one buyer. If there's more than 2 buyers, additional signature page of the F267 is attached. Seller number 1, seller number 2, same here if more than 2 sellers. The buyer brokerage firm signs here. The seller brokerage firm signs here. And that concludes the F404 Conventional Loan Exhibit.